pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you turn that? Wait. Good. Clerk, call the roll.
Bala.
Here.
Gerhardstein.
Yes, here.
Jaworski.
Here.
Kosky. Here. Levon is excused. Saloto.
Here.
Thielman.
Here. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, we need to elect a council president pro tem, so I would like to accept a motion for the election of the council president pro tem.
I would like to nominate Matt Jaworski as council president pro tem.
Second.
All right, nominate, motion by Kosky, seconded by Mr. Thielman, that councilperson Jaworski be elected council president pro tem for the September 12th, 2022 meeting. Bala?
Yes.
Or, sorry, any discussion? Okay, Bala?
Yes again?
Gerhardstein?
Yes,
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kosky?
Yes.
Saloto?
Yes.
Thielman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is approval of council minutes. We're looking at approval for the council minutes from the meeting of June 27th, 2022.
make a motion, we accept the minutes from June 27th, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Gerhardstein and seconded by Councilman Kosky to accept the minutes from June 27th of 2022. Discussion? Sandy, call the roll.
Bala?
Yes.
Gerhardstein?
Yes,
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kosky?
Yes.
Saloto?
Yes.
Thielman?
Yes. Approval of the tax budget hearing minutes from June 27th, 2022.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes from the budget hearing on 6/27/2022.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Gerhardstein and seconded by Councilman Thielman to approve the tax budget hearing minutes from June 27th, 2022. Clerk, call the roll. Or excuse me, discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Bala?
Yes.
Gerhardstein?
Yes,
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kosky?
Yes.
Saloto?
Yes.
Thielman?
Yes. Next up is approval from the council meeting on August 1st.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Kosky, seconded by Councilman Ballard to accept the minutes from the council meeting on August 1st of 2022. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Bala?
Yes.
Gerhardstein?
yes,
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kosky?
Yes.
Saloto?
Yes.
Thielman?
Yes. We have up next the approval of the minutes from the August 29th meeting. I was not able to make that meeting and will need to be excused. I think I'm the only member of council.
I was not even.
Both of us will need to be excused from that meeting.
I motion, make a motion, and we approve the council minutes from August 29th, 2022.
No.
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 Could you,
I.
we need to make a motion to allow myself
Oh,
and
I'm sorry.
Councilman
I
Ballard
make a
to
motion
abstain.
that Councilman Jaworski and Councilman Bella be allowed to abstain from the vote from the council minutes of August 29th, 2022.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Gerhardstein, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to allow Councilmen Jaworski and Ballard to abstain from voting on the minutes from August 29th, 2022. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Bala?
Abstain.
No.
No.
Oh. Yes.
Gerhardstein?
Yes,
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kosky?
Yes.
Saloto?
Yes.
Thielman?
Yes. And now we're looking for a motion to approve the minutes from August 29th of 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 29th.
Yes.
29th.
29th, you're right.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Saloto, seconded by Councilwoman Kosky to approve the minutes from August 29th of 2022. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Bala?
Abstain.
Gerhardstein?
yes,
Kosky?
Yes.
Abstain.
Saloto?
Yes.
Thielman?
Yes. And on to the reports and communication from the Mayor's Safety Director.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome back. It's been such an extremely busy summer. First, I want to say thank you to ComServe. What they've done is take a wealthy man's living room and turn it into a professional public meeting place, with all while keeping the integrity of this room intact. And now, thousands of people might not watch our council meetings, but they have the capability to because of us. So I just wanted to say thank you to them. Well, addressing things, my first of my term is addressing things that have been kicked down the road and neglected. Baseball fields, golf course, but most importantly, policy handbook. That hasn't been done in like 15 years. But by the end of my first year, that should be addressed. Increasing our social media presence with our programs and events. And one of the things is updating the website. My administrators have stepped up big time this summer. We got a small team together that is working to, if we do fund to get a website, with the research they have done, we're gonna have one of the best municipality websites ever. And just to give a small example, I'm not gonna get into the details tonight, we'll get into that at another time. But for a small example, the dye test procedure, we have a dye test. Just to show everybody, right now, for one dye test, this is all the moving parts that goes into it. I know it's hard to see. But with the new website, it's gonna be down to this. And the communication and the efficiency is gonna be so much better. And so those are the things that we have been working on. And again, it's all because of my team and everybody stepping up, because again, when I'm done here, nothing's going to be neglected. So I just wanted to bring that up. Also, I got to Tim. I threw a lot on him. Hey, Ginger, I want it open later. I want it open longer. And oh, by the way, I want a concert. We haven't had concerts at this gazebo in 20 years. So I said, let's try a concert in the park to see the interest. And it was awesome. We had Samrata here. We had a few hundred people. There were alcohol sales. There Wickliffe Forever helped, and food. And it was just nice to see, community events are very important here in Wickliffe, and to see all the people and other people outside the city see our beautiful parks and everybody have a good time was everything. So I just wanted to say it's been a great summer. I'm glad you guys are back, and that's all I have.
Reports and communications from the Law Director.
Thank you. One thing I want to make a comment on is ordinance number 22-47 tonight, which was a small livestock and bee regulations ordinance. When it came out of committee, the way it had been drafted, it was only going to apply to residential districts. And in its final form that we have council to hear the first reading of tonight, I just wanted to make you aware that we've made it applicable to every zoning district in the city. So it's just going to be citywide, no matter what the zone. And I have nothing for you.
Any questions for the Law Director? With that then, communications from the Council President, I have none. Are there any amendments or additions to the agenda? Seeing that there are no amendments, then we'll move on to the administrators. Police Chief Ice.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just some of the activities that we were involved in over the summer. Movie night, Camp Happiness at CPL, car show, block watch meetings, Safety Town, meeting with the seniors at the community center, park safety. Everybody knows we had a little bit of a hiccup at the beginning of the year at Orlando. I can tell you that the rest of the year we had no problems at Orlando or any other parks. The concert at Sumatra went good, and the Rock the Mansion went off without a hitch. A couple other pieces of information. There was an opioid settlement. I'm not sure if I talked about this before, but we're going to be getting $4,600 a year for the next 18 years as part of a statewide opioid settlement. Now, there's restrictions on how that money can be spent, and we're still investigating those. The Lexable project that Councilman Gahartzi asked about at the last meeting, that project has started. How long it's going to take to get complete, I don't know. It's a risk management policy process, and it'll move as fast as we want it to with the guidance that we got from the corporation. K-9 funding, we met our goal. We have about $4,000 above our goal. So given the events in Uvalde and Parkland, we did 2 days of active shooter training up at the high school. Got cooperation from, and every one of our employees or police officers was put through that training. The SRO assignment is up at the high school, and that's up and running. I want to mention this, that the last employee that I hired, Megan Blair, she's only a 22-year-old kid. She had worked, before she came here, she worked in Brooklyn Heights for about a little less than a year. And she was involved with an email group that invited Coward County police officers to get on it, that provided information about different kind of criminal activity that's going on in Coward County. So this fella was committing armed robberies at 8 different locations in Coward County. And Coward County actually put a task force together to try to catch this guy. So she's paying attention to all this information. So she happened to be working down at the Quality Inn, driving through there. She noticed the car that was there. She looked inside the car, and this guy, when he was committing these robberies, had a very distinctive sweat suit that he was wearing, and she identified that. So then we set up on it, and a couple hours later he came out. We arrested him, and she solved 8 armed robberies in Coward County. So that's pretty amazing when you consider it's a 22-year-old kid. So that's something you expect out of a veteran. I'm very proud of her. We had a homicide up at the Fairbridge early in the year. That person has confessed and got life in prison. And I've had 6 employees out with COVID in August and September. So that's all I would have this evening.
Any questions for the police chief?
Any word on the flocks? Did I see them up or?
So 2 of the 3 are up and running. We did have a little bit of a hiccup. The flock cameras were being put on CI poles throughout the whole region. CI changed their mind, and we're not permitted to put them there anymore. So we have 2 of them are up and running. One down at the freeway ramp on Lakeland. The other one's on the school speed sign in front of the middle school. The other one that was going to be put on a pole, we have a pole at the fire station. We haven't run the electrical for that yet, and Mike Powell or Greg Mattei is supposed to run that soon. I'm not sure exactly when. And the last one, we had to get permission from Borough Mail to put the pole on their property. They had to send it to their legal folks, and they've approved that, and Flock approved it, so that should be installed before the end of the month.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Move on then to police chief Powers. Or excuse me, fire chief Powers.
That's okay.
New at this.
Right. Some good things happening. We've changed the way we do fire prevention. Now we give notice to commercial occupancies that we're coming to do their annual inspection or biannual inspection. Our goal is to educate, not to get you and write a violation. So we're working more with businesses. We found really great success, a lot of welcoming for it. I can't guarantee everyone is going to get advance notice, but we're trying to be 100% effective with letting the commercial establishments know we're going to be around in 2 or 3 weeks to do an inspection. That way they give a little time to clean up. And if it's a once a year and they clean up a little bit more once a year or get their extinguisher filled or whatever they need, they have a little time to do it. The other thing we've done is we carry foam on our fire trucks. It's an extinguishing agent. We carry 2 types, but one of them was really environmentally unfriendly. If it gets into the lake, it kind of stays in the lake. You've heard about these things. They're called PFAS, and I'll try to say it, polyfluoroalkyl alcohol substances. And they're bad for the environment, but there's also some question as whether they're a carcinogen. So we changed that out to a new environmentally friendly foam. The downside on it, the cost for that foam, it's about the same cost to get rid of my old foam. So, but we're doing it, it's better for everybody. We've been manning, and we just did this weekend, we had several calls down there. We've been manning a squad on the north side of town when they close the underpass, so we don't have 12 or 14-minute responses back up to Truman. That's working out good. ODOT's closing it double what they said, because they're closing it for the tear down, and then they're also closing it for concrete pours, which we didn't know initially. So when we're putting 2 guys, they're additional personnel, we're putting 2 guys into the community center. Tim's helped us with making arrangements at the community center. It's working out well. A lot of people don't know, on our rescue squads, we have some initial firefighting equipment too. So if there is a house fire, even though that engine's gonna be a little delayed, that squad can do a lot and certainly affect a rescue with the equipment they have on those squads. Our calls are up 13% over last year right now. Okay, it's pretty significant for us. That's just increased paperwork, increased volume of everything. And the Department of Health and Human Services continue to push guidelines on us that are almost unobtainable. And fire departments are struggling with Medicaid, Medicare, and reimbursement compensation for the transports we do. Some departments have given up. We're still trying to meet those requirements. They're only going to get worse, and I'm not sure where that ends. As I've told you many times, our part-time staffing is struggling. We've done really well with recruiting this summer. We brought on a couple more, but we're at 13 right now. We should be at 22, 24. And here again, that's just not our department, it's every department in the county and the region. And then finally, I'd like to apologize. You got the annual report kind of late this year, actually really late as far as I'm concerned, in June or July here, or just recently. We were in the process at the beginning of the year of switching over to software because of the West merge, and also some internal equipment maintenance tracking software. And anytime you implement 2 major software programs in your department, it takes a little while. Captain Isom was our editor for that, and it's a team building effort on that annual report. And I think he did a really good job. We've done that for that format for the last 14 years. So I hope you like the graphs, because I think they say a lot more than the written materials. That concludes my report.
Anyone have any questions for the fire chief?
I'd like to make a comment. Chief, I read the report and I thought it was very impressive for what the insight that report gives. So I would hope there's a way to put that on the city website. You and I talked about that. It might be hard to put on the website because it's very informative to the residents that don't understand everything the department does.
Thank you.
I thought the report was very nice. Thanks.
Any additional questions or comments for the fire chief?
So tell me, now that UH Richmond is closing, I mean, are you gonna have any issues at all with, I mean, were you going there very often, or I don't think you were?
We were going there about 28 times, so maybe once a day, a month.
Okay.
The problem I believe we're gonna have is, the city of Euclid runs 12,000 calls a year. They used to take 2,400 to Richmond Heights.
Yeah.
So they believe that they'll take another 1,200 back to Euclid, but those other 1,200 are probably gonna come to West. They would rarely come to Lake West. So that 1,200 going into West is just gonna add to it. And UH is doing a great job at trying to facilitate the through care, if you would. But we're having backups at our hospitals. We go to Hillcrest and we wait 40 minutes, and that impacts us. You know, we go to West sometimes and we wait an hour. And while it didn't seem to impact us losing Richmond Heights, the communities that use Richmond Heights almost exclusively, or quite a bit, are now coming to West, and that's going to impact us. So it's a regional thing.
I mean, has UH put together any kind of, I mean, they're closing a hospital. I mean, are they trying to put any type of, you know, fix at Lake that can take more thoroughfare there?
One of the reasons they told us they were closing both Richmond and Bedford Hospital was to take that staff and put it back out in their systems. But West is pretty tapped out with personnel.
Yeah.
And that's always the problem, is the ER can hold about 36 people, 36 beds. It's not unusual for them to have 48 beds, hallways and that type of thing, and have a waiting room with 20 or 40 people back there. And on the west end of town here, we can fill it pretty quick. So they have some procedures in place, to do it, but at some point, it just becomes one of those analytical things where they just don't have enough staff and beds to make it all work.
Okay.
Anyone else have any comments or questions for the fire chief? Okay, up next is the finance director, Mrs. Doles.
Thank you, Council President. The general fund at the end of August was at $7.6 million. I'm sure you've read the reports. Just wanted to explain a little bit why that is higher than it has been. The main reason is we got the remainder of the 2021 settlement for real estate taxes in August. So that'll come down substantially. It's really a timing thing. We have 3 pays in September, so that will lower that back to where it's been trending. The amount of the delinquent sewer bills that were certified to the property taxes for next year is $848, which represents 597 delinquent accounts. And then the last thing I have, the delinquent grass cutting that will be certified from the ordinance 2022-43, were cuts done between May 2nd and June 24th of this year. And that's all I have.
Any comments or questions for the finance director? We'll move on next then to the city engineer.
Thank you, Council President. A couple of things. Next Tuesday, we have a tentative pre-construction meeting with the Lakeland Boulevard Phase 2 contractor. So hopefully we'll have that and have their construction schedule to get things rolling and get it wrapped up before the end of the year. Also, we should, by the next council meeting, we will, by the next council meeting, have bids for the concrete path improvements at Ginger Park that Ron and I talked about at the last special meeting. We will have those tabulated, and I've gotten some interest from a couple of different contractors on that. So we should have some numbers for you by the next meeting.
Anyone else, or anyone have any questions or comments for the city engineer? Pete, I do have one. In regards to Lakeland, are we looking at keeping, I can't remember, so are we looking at keeping traffic open both ways since that's such a wide street
Yes.
during construction?
Two-way traffic will be maintained.
Wonderful, thank you. Service Director Strausser.
Thank you, Council President. I do have a couple of things here. This has been a very challenging year for my whole department, as I think all of you know. Getting parts for vehicles is extremely difficult. Getting service work done, I mean, it's just, everything is ridiculous this year. The costs have been increasing dramatically, stuff like that. I just wanted to let you know, I mean, right now we're still okay with the budget and things like that, but the costs have gone up significantly for parts and stuff like that. And just being able to get them and keeping my vehicles out of service has been definitely traumatic to us. The mayor and I had a meeting out at the county with the county engineer for Route 2. I don't know if any of you noticed, but the condition of Route 2 has been horrible this year. And it's not just our city, all the cities around had a meeting with the county engineer out there, and just wanted to know what's going on and why it's so bad. Well, it's the same thing. They can't find people. They can't get trucks. They can't. It's just one thing after another after another. They haven't been able to fix their lawnmowers. Their lawnmower that gets parts from Canada, they haven't been able to get them. So it's been one thing after another. So some of the cities around, including us, we're going to pitch in and do some of the on-ramp and off-ramp stuff. None of the cities really around have the right equipment to go up on the freeway with the right crash vehicles and things like that. So, but we are going to go ahead and do some maintenance work on and off ramps, especially at Lloyd Road, because it's bad. The weeds are getting really high. There's a lot of garbage. The last couple of years I have been sweeping that. We swept it once this year, but it needs to be done again. So I just wanted to let you know, if you see our vehicles up there, that was something that, it sounds like they're going to kind of reimburse us a little bit, or take it easy on the cost for us, but we pay them to maintain that for us, because they just can't find people. They're looking for any kind of solution they can get. So that went well, I thought. We do have Sherbrooke Drive has been started, and they already poured pretty much one half of the curb and gutter line down. They were finishing it up today when I left. They might have a little bit more to finish up tomorrow morning. But the north side curb and gutter is already in place, and then they're gonna start on the south side, ripping that out, and after they finish the aprons, they have to go back and do all the aprons on the north side, and they're gonna start on the south side. So, but at least progress is going along. They informed me, as well as Jab Supply and everybody, concrete is very, very difficult to get right now. They said possibly in the state of Ohio after October 1st, October 15th, there's gonna be no more concrete available for the state of Ohio for the rest of the year. Because they're getting supplies from China and things like that, I guess, and they said that you will not be able to get concrete. Right now they're limiting concrete, so I'm a little bit nervous on the Ginger walking path, see what happens, but we'll see. I was informed by Jab Supply that their concrete cost went up 25%, just overnight, one night went up 25%, but he still sounds like he may be willing to honor that price that they gave us just as a benefit of working with the city. Let's see, I do have some good news. The service department, my head mechanic left, he got a better job with the FBI, a significant pay increase and stuff like that, so he left, and I was able to find 2 mechanics, so we're back up to full staff with 3 mechanics. They've been there a week and a half, we've been cranking the work out, it has been very good. So far, very pleased with them, hopefully they work out as well as they have the first couple weeks, and we'll go from there. One more thing is we finally turned in our first initial lease vehicle. The first round of lease vehicles went up, and actually there's some legislation on tonight for some future stuff. But we did turn in our first lease vehicle for the 12-month, the whole duration of the 12-month lease, and I'm just using round numbers. We roughly paid $5,000 for the lease, to lease an Ford F-250 for 12 months. We turned the vehicle in, we got another one. They sold that vehicle, and they're gonna give us a credit of $17,000. So we're actually drive the vehicle for free and make 12 grand on that one lease vehicle. Now, we know that's not gonna continue, because right now, just getting vehicles, used trucks and stuff is difficult, extremely difficult. The first round of trucks that we bought, I got like $10,000 to $12,000 off of list price. The second round that we just bought, we got $2,000 off. So I know that that's gonna go down, but still, I mean, I would imagine after this first round is over, we're gonna be at least probably in the $30,000 to $40,000 range, we're gonna be getting money back from these other vehicles. And the other vehicles are ready to pick up. We're gonna be picking them up next week, I think. So the next 4 that we had. So, but this on tonight, the stuff that's on the legislation tonight is to order the next round. It'll be probably a year from now. But we have to commit now that we're gonna do that, and that's what that's all about. And that's about it. That's all I have.
Ron, you referred to the issues that we're facing right now, getting parts in for our fleet. Would it behoove us to start looking and crunching some numbers to see what normally breaks in the wintertime, and if we can start getting those, ordering those parts ahead of time so we have them come?
Yeah, I already have taken some of the steps with the new mechanics and stuff like that, and I've been going through myself, because when the head mechanic left, I went through and I did an inventory, thorough look at the inventory, plow blazons and things like that. I already have like I have pre-ordered pricing that I have for that stuff. That shouldn't be an issue getting that. Salt did come in, actually came in a little bit cheaper than last year, so we should be good on salt. The supply of salt supposedly is no issue right now, as of right now when I talk to him. So yeah, I think we're okay for right now. The only thing is that I may run out of money before the end of the year. I might be asking for some more money for parts, that's all.
Ron, you mentioned how is Fairways Project coming?
Fairway is, we had the pre-con meeting, and they're supposed to be doing that within the next couple of weeks.
We received their shop drawings of the materials that they're gonna use. We're reviewing them. It was Thursday when I was in the office. We're reviewing.
And that project will be done this year?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to thank the service department and Mr. Strauser for all their work they do on the special events like Rock the Mansion and the Sumrata concert, getting the pools open, and just keeping the city kind of looking good with a staff half the size of it that it was from the 1990s. So I just and the amount of effort he puts into finding some creative ways to fix and solve problems, I appreciate that very much on behalf of myself as Joe citizen and a member of council.
Well, thank you very much.
I'd like to say something similar to that. I mean, I'm amazed at some of the stuff that all of you guys come up with, but I love the car deal. And I don't know how you found that. I don't know if the rest of the world gets to lease cars and have that kind of money returned. When you first brought it up to us last year, I was a little skeptical that it was really gonna work that way.
I was too.
And it did, and I'm really impressed.
So
Would
just so you know, Willowick, they leased a little different type of vehicle, but Willowick had 10, 11 vehicles. They got a check back for $150,000. Now, that was minus the money that they paid, but they got a check for $150,000.
amazing.
But like I said, it's not gonna be forever. I believe that Ford and everybody else has caught on to that a little bit, and they're gonna put the squash on that a little bit. But still, if we can lease a vehicle and not cost the city any money, it's great. It's a win-win.
I think it's phenomenal.
So if
thank
we
you
get
for
money back or
finding
not, I think absolutely it's a win-win.
Right,
if we
just
do
that
it.
even if you don't get money back, it's still a
So,
good deal.
right.
So I think it's great. I think you all do a tremendous job. So
Thank you.
just start the year off with thank you.
Thanks. Oh, and then, Ms. Drake will be talking about the pole house too. We had some update for that. That's all.
Street striping done?
The street striping, all the main lines are done, and again, that was the same thing, I've been calling the guy, cause I gave him that award of that back in May, and it took forever for him to get done, they finally did it a few weeks back. But all the main lines are done, they have to come back and do the handwork, but it's the same thing, he could not get paint. Now, this is a paint company, that's all they do for a living, and he could not get paint. And that was what the holdup was, and I told him, I said, if you don't have it done by sometime by mid-September, I said, just forget it, because it's just a waste of time once the snow falls and things like that, it doesn't really pay off, so we're just gonna abandon the project for this year. But yes, they're done, except for the handwork.
Anyone else? Okay. Building Commissioner Sack is, he's not excused, so move on to Recreation Director Stock.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just wanted to reiterate busy summer. When we started in June, we got the pools open. I'm very happy to have Ginger open, and we were able to keep it open, as the mayor said, a little bit longer. Becky kind of twisted a couple arms and was able to piece work together another week at Ginger, and it was well. All the pools did well this year. Membership was up and revenue was up. We did have an increase in the membership rates, but we did have an overall increase in revenue. I don't want to regurgitate everything of my report, because there are a lot of programs, but just highlight some of the things. Golf course is doing really well. The staff over there is doing a great job. They're on a record pace to bring in as much revenue as they have ever. Let's see. Just all the new programming, concerts in the park, the movies by the poolside, as Chief Ice alluded to. That was done through the community policing, and our aquatic staff were able to show a couple movies at poolside. So those were fun. So just a fun and busy summer.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for the Recreation Director?
Well, I'll just mention, thanks for Ginger Pool being open, Mayor, and Tim. Got plenty of compliments about, well, the lifeguards down there. One of them, yeah, I happen to know, but the other guys and ladies were great. And even at our class reunion, a couple people mentioned, like, who were, they just had a great time going to Ginger Pool. So keep our fingers crossed that we have them open next year, and we have another great summer like this year. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Tim, I'd like to compliment the staff at Colby. I was up there one afternoon, and there was a medical emergency, and to see the young men and women spring into action without hesitation, it shows that the training that they take paid off, and they were able to pull the person out of the water. The Wickliffe paramedics came and were able to provide assistance as well, and it was seamless, and it just goes to show that that they are paying attention, that they are doing a great job. So congratulations to Becky and her staff on that.
Thank you.
I'd like to reiterate that too, because, you know, a lot of these kids are 15, 16 years old, and it's amazing what they do up there. You know, what they have to deal with, the parents mostly, right? And you know, problems that they encounter. And they generally, for the most part, do it with maturity and the training that they've received. So, yeah, kudos to everybody at both pools.
And not to leave out the spray park, but the spray park really did a great job this year. We had an old, I don't want to say older, but some of them more mature that was down in Orlando, and they really did a really nice job down there. We had a lot of comments, compliments, you know, from parties that rented down there, that very engaging, you know, very attentive, and they did a great job at Orlando also.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of jump on the bandwagon with what you guys said. They had, I want to say, 18 saves?
Yeah, probably a little more by the end of the summer, yeah.
I know the one you were talking about was extremely, but 18 saves, and again, yes, Tom, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, they take this as a summer job and realize how important this job is. So I went down there personally and thanked all of them and told them, hey, I get it, you guys take this as a part-time job, but to us it's very important, and we thank you a lot. So thank you for bringing that up, because that slipped my mind. I wanted to say thanks for that.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for the Recreation Director? And up next is Economic Development Manager Drake.
Thank you, Council President. Some of the highlights, because I know you have an extensive agenda tonight. The Land Bank anticipates that the Provo House will be demolished beginning the week of October 10th. So please, if anybody has anything in that building, to have it removed prior to them coming in and starting on that project. I have been connecting with numerous businesses throughout the summer. Some of the common themes we are hearing has been workforce. Wickliffe school system does an excellent job of connecting Wickliffe students with employment. And that being said, it's still not enough people for the employers, and they're still looking for additional employees. So due to this, I've been reaching out in creative ways to organizations who help connect people seeking jobs with employers. Just things we don't think about. Crossing over to some of these organizations are in Cuyahoga County, but Wickliffe might be closer to Cuyahoga County than, let's say, another section of Cuyahoga County. And there's a lot of good people out there that would like to work, and I'd like to help our employers be successful in their businesses and getting employees in. And along that vein, due to the workforce challenges that have been experienced, one of our city employers has come up with a creative solution as well. So why it works is we'll be looking to create a trade school in the city so that they will be able to educate and certify plumbers. And his desire is they hopefully come work for him, but even if they don't, their dedication to the trades and plumbing is very exciting, and the fact that it's going to be here in the city, it's been great. So I'm happy to share that. One final thing that I want to touch on, the Ohio Revised Code requires that the city have a tax incentive review council to review the community investment area agreements that are in place, and then we meet and make recommendations to city council, and that has been done, and the report has been sent out to council, and the next step will be to for city council to either accept, reject, or modify any or all recommendations, and I anticipate that this will be placed under new business at the next council meeting. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
So we have the MS Consultants report now for 2 months, I believe, right? We've all
Correct.
had that report for 2 months.
Correct.
What's the next step, or is there any scheduled meetings? I know the Planning Commission, I sit in the Planning Commission meetings, and they've talked about what the city plans to do with that report now that we've received it. So can you tell us what the next step is?
Yes, so I know, I believe Councilman Jaworski is going to speak to that tonight. I was asked to take it to council during a planning commission meeting, so I'll let him touch on that this evening. Ultimately, those reports are accepted or adopted by the city, but to go to that next step, I wanted to afford the opportunity for council, for planning commission, and to be able to have a conversation about that. Does that answer your question?
No, not really.
So the
I'm
next
sorry,
step,
I read the report. I mean, there's no
Yes.
way the council can accept or reject the entire report. I mean, there's stuff in the report I'm
It's
sure every one of
adopting.
us have read. Some of it we agree with, some of it we disagree with. So my question is what is the plan on a meeting to discuss that part of it?
so normally there's a section that says adopted, and so you can adopt just like we were talking about. Adopt, accept, reject, modify, all recommendations. I know that there was a conversation during planning commission that they wanted to discuss specifically taking a look at the zoning section. So that was being held off, and I was gonna get into that actually more in the next meeting, but, because I didn't know what was going to move forward with planning commission.
Okay.
But there will be another step, and I was looking to
Okay, thank you.
discuss it next meeting.
Can I just mention something about that too? So a lot of the things that are in that report, they're great, and we can
Mhm.
decide to adopt them or not adopt them, but the bottom line is, it's up to us then to find the people that will help us adopt them, which was a little bit why I was concerned about the report to begin with, because it doesn't really help us make that next step.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, if it's okay with you, it might not be a bad idea for us to have a separate meeting just to talk about the actual report and which things we want to, aside from the planning commission stuff, I mean, the zoning stuff, because I know that that's an important piece, but there's other things too that we probably should get together to talk about and decide, you know, what we want to move forward, and then it's gonna be incumbent upon us to do that, so, and I'm happy to spearhead that, but we're gonna have to actually pull through some of this stuff with your help, Monica, I mean.
Oh, absolutely, I
Okay.
agree with you, Councilwoman Saloto. It was just something I was kind of holding off because of the extensiveness of the agenda, because I know this, we have to have that conversation.
Right.
And look at the next steps and how to adopt it, and I think it is appropriate, because it was in your committee also.
Right, so I think we should, after the planning commission discussion on the zoning,
Mhm.
I mean, or even concurrently, we should try to have a separate economic development meeting to bring this all to light again.
Yes, I agree, thank you.
Okay. So I'll call that meeting.
Council President, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't the MS consultant still in the Euclid Avenue committee meeting? So would that fall under the Euclid Avenue, right? That's still in, right, so that we could still, that's still in committee?
I was looking for the list and I could not find it in my email. The council clerk, I think, is looking for that right now.
Yeah, I mean, we have to call another committee meeting to talk about it.
Yes, MS Consulting Updates is still in the Economic Development and Euclid Avenue Redevelopment Committee.
Yeah, now, I don't know if it's a topic that Council President Levon would want to move out of that committee and into Committee of the Whole to discuss or not. That would be up to him. Obviously, he's not here tonight to answer that, but.
We could table until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Is that okay with?
Yeah, I mean, why would we do that? I mean,
To
why
allow
wouldn't we
all
just-
of council instead of just for one
okay.
committee. I mean, if you have a chance, maybe reach out to him,
Okay.
email him and see what his desire is, and then that way, when we're back here 2 weeks for our next meeting, we can,
Okay.
anyone else have any comments or questions for the Economic Development Manager?
So I just want to say, one thing I did think, I don't know what's going to result in the MS study, but what I do think was a success was the storefront parking lot, you know, the renovation program we did. A lot of a few businesses took advantage of that, and we really saw some change. I know everything's not perfect on Euclid Avenue, but it is a little bit better. And so maybe again next year and something, and kind of go off that, and then on us, you know, and I will take a more of a responsibility to get that out there. I know we promote it as best we can sometimes, but I want every business on Euclid Avenue and across the city to know about it, and just better communicating that, I guess I would say. But I really thought that was good. Just about Papa Joe's, Federated, Sid Savitt, just those areas and those different sections, really little easier on the eye. So.
Yes, and thank you, I was also looking to discuss that more in depth next meeting, about that program. I had some ideas of how to better communicate it, because we did communicate it, but, you know, somebody doesn't see something in there. So I've already suggested the mayor a potential approach of how to better communicate to the whole of the city, and not specific, you know, just certain ones who happen to see it in the, you know, in either through calls or you know, through calling on the business or in the connection or on Facebook, but touching all the different businesses in the city.
One last question, Monica. On that storefront renovation, since the mayor brought that up, if I read the budget right, only half the money that was allocated for that fund was actually used so far, right? There's still...
So right now, I was calling on different businesses. I just got a quote in. I have an application, and that particular business will use $10,000. I called on a business today that was it has received initial approval through building commissioner Saxon and myself to that eligibility, and called on him today, checking on where he is with the sign. So there are people that are in the process and in the works that have basically put in application. That's about $25,000 round figure. We've expended 10, 20. I know that there's $3,500 that is not basically spoken for in that program. They're just in different stages of where they're at. But that's what's left, and I did call on a gentleman, and was communicating that program with him, and made it, so.
Thank you.
I am hopeful that all of it, they take advantage of it, depending on where the business is, to be able to move forward with it.
I know some are waiting for things to arrive because of the slow supply chain and things like signs.
Yes.
So it's taking time.
Right, 2 of those projects are signed projects.
Is there any deadline for this work to be completed?
The initial was they wanted it within 3 months of making application. One of the gentlemen, when I was talking to him today, the sign company's boom truck broke. So there you go to supply chain, trying to get a boom truck fixed. And yeah, but his sign's basically ready to go. So yes, there's the other one, it's a parking lot. He's investing some major dollars. It's actually the gentleman that will be opening the trade school. He's done some major expansion on his business, and he's doing some major renovations to his building, and as well as he will with the building he's purchasing to open the trade school. So he's definitely investing quite a bit in the city. He's another one. He's anticipating that project to be done in October. And hopefully the other 2 are like that October, no later than November timeframe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else have any additional questions or comments for the Economic Development Manager? All right, seeing none, then it's time for audience participation. We'll open up audience participation, and members of the audience are allowed to speak to members of council for no more than 5 minutes. anyone? So you, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because
I didn't know if you needed to.
if you would like to address council, we have a microphone so that we can make sure that the audio is working for the live stream. So I know Mr. Dworsky was going to say we'd like you to stand and state your name and record for the clerk's office, for the clerk's record. But if you could come and stand up here, and then I can hand you the microphone. So.
Come on up. Be like other cities and have lines.
Am I on camera? They see what I look like now?
I guess so.
You look great.
Jim List, 29717 Arthur Avenue. 2 questions. First, this is a technical question for the Ms. Stoles. I'm not challenging your data, just when you said delinquent landscaping fees, does that mean that the city's been mowing their lawn, the resident, and they're not paying it? Is that what that means?
Do you want to handle that question?
I can,
Go ahead.
as long as you're okay with that. Yes, if there is a violation of a certain section of code and the grass or weeds are so high, then the building department, the property maintenance inspector gives them notice, and then so many days, I don't know the exact amount of days, because that's not my point, that's not my part. If they don't take care of it on their own, then we have a contractor cut it and we bill them.
Okay, so what if they don't want to pay the bill?
Then it gets attached to their property taxes.
Very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Other question, or other comment. This is valuable public relations for the community, a Wickliffe connection. As I read through it, I see two out of our 8 elected officials wrote columns, the mayor, Councilor Harrison. We need to hear from everybody. The morale of the city's good now. Let's capitalize on it. Okay, that's it.
Don't drop the mic.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council? Come on up.
Hi, Debbie Petschauer, 30047 Warren Road. I would like to know if there's any ordinances or laws or permits needed in Wickliffe to keep farm animals on your property. I lived on Warren Road in a little tiny lot. My next door neighbors now have 4 turkeys, 6 to 8 chickens, and 2 rabbits. And they're growing bigger and bigger. And I'm a little bit concerned about my dog going through the fence, the turkeys coming over the fence, or possible rats, coyotes, or whatever. Are you allowed to keep farm animals? And what do we do about it if something happens here?
As of right now, farm animals are allowed in the city of Wickliffe. We have an ordinance on the books tonight. It is ordinance 47 that would start to place a number and prohibit certain small livestock. I'll defer to the law director though in terms about the livestock staying on property.
To answer your question about, there is no permit needed to have animals in the city or any type of permit process. We do have some current regulations regarding like nuisance animals in our code. We also, birds, some regulations, and bees. And as Councilperson Jaworski had informed you, as you probably heard me speaking, we do have some new regulations that have been proposed that we're going to be the first reading of tonight to restrict types of animals and numbers of animals, so it's going to become a little bit more strict. But there is no, under this new legislation, there's no permit process either. There's no permits for animals in the city.
Or maybe recommend that you have to have at least a ½ acre or something to have, like, I don't know, they're right there. And they might be over the fence soon. Is there anything I could do now if there is a problem of sanitation or They
Yeah,
escape or?
Yeah, we have nuisance statutes. If an animal becomes a nuisance because of noise, or they create a dangerous condition, or if something becomes so unsanitary, the Lake County Health Department get involved. So you're not stuck. You know, we do have restrictions.
Okay,
You know, if they become a nuisance.
okay.
It's not unfettered. You can have whatever you want and do whatever you want and let them go out of control.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Scott, what would you recommend though if the livestock is going off property, not the neighbor's property?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like an animal at large, is what it would be.
So suggesting that would be to call the police?
Police department, sure.
Streets at large.
Mhm. If you think there were sanitary conditions or, you know, stuff like that, the building department, otherwise, or they could always contact me as well too. I mean, if it's not an emergency, if they need an emergency, I suggest contacting the police department.
Yeah, to go off that, we had a similar instance, only the land was a little bit bigger up in the Wickliffe Heights area. So with, a lady was concerned, her neighbor come in, brought a lot of chickens and things of that nature, but the health department is very good. If there's an issue, they will come and they will do a thorough, you know, check as much as they can, just to make sure they are, you know, abiding by the code. So yes, keep an eye on that, because we want, I get it. Now, believe me, if my neighbor or any of our neighbors brought a bunch of chickens, yeah, we're not used to that, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council? Anybody else? All right, well, with that, then we will close audience participation. Committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports? All right, seeing none then, commission reports. I do have several planning commission reports here. On July 7th, the planning commission approved a request for a parking plan approval to construct a new gasoline service station and convenience store located at 28617 Euclid Avenue in a general business district. And that same night, the planning commission also discussed what is now ordinance 2022-47 regarding the keeping and raising of small livestock and bees. Planning commission recommended that council be the body to determine the appropriate number of animals on any particular property, as members of the planning commission didn't even agree to that themselves. Then on September 1st, planning commission met and they approved a request for a parking plan approval and change of use for a business located at 28953 Euclid Avenue in a general business district. They also approved a request for a lot split for Green Ridge Road Golf Course. This is something that was actually started by the last administration and council and has just taken some time to work its way through. That being said, I had a conversation with Council President Levon, but we didn't discuss if it was going to be put into a committee or not. So I will just leave it out of committee, but he may be putting this back into committee for the entire council to discuss this particular issue. So with that, I will submit that to the clerk. Anyone else have any commission reports then? All right, seeing none. Old business. There's no old business. Up next for new business is a liquor license renewal for Bloom Haggy Inc., doing business as Lucky 7, located at 804 Warden Road. I will give this to the board council member to look at and review, and if you have any issues, you can let the council clerk know. That being it for new business, it's now time for the ordinances.
Ordinance number 2022-32, an ordinance amending section 1175.06 vacant building fees of chapter 1175 titled Vacant Property Building Registration of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio. Second reading. Ordinance 2022-42, an ordinance levying special assessments for the improvements of streets within the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, by supplying said streets with electric street lighting and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Suspension made by Councilwoman Koski, seconded by Councilman Bala, regarding ordinance 2022-42. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Spielman.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Motion to adopt by Councilwoman Koski, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Excuse me, Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Spielman.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2022-43, an ordinance levying an assessment for unpaid bills and costs of cutting noxious or poisonous weeds, vines, tree limbs, or grasses growing upon parcels of land in the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Suspension made by Councilman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Gerhardstein. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Spielman.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Adoption made by Councilman Gerhardstein, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to pass ordinance 2022-43 and declaring an emergency. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Spielman.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2022-44, an ordinance providing appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, for the period beginning January 1st, 2022, and ending December 31st, 2022. First reading. Ordinance number 2022-45, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with BHM CPA Group, Inc., Balestra Har Insurer CPAs, Inc. for the professional auditing services for an extension of the original contract period for the audit approved November 1st, 2018 to include January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Suspension made by Councilman Gerhardstein and seconded by Councilman Thielman that council suspend ordinance 2022-45 and be placed on third and final reading. Discussion? Council, or clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Spielman.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Adoption made by Councilman Gerhardstein, seconded by Councilman Saloto, that ordinance number 2022-45 be adopted as presented. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Spielman.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2022-46, an ordinance accepting opiate settlement funds and directing placement of such funds in a separate fund and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Suspension made by Councilman Kowski and seconded by Councilman Gerhardstein that the rules of Wickliffe City Council be suspended and ordinance 2022-46 be placed on third and final reading. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Spielman.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Motion made to adopt by Councilman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Gerhardstein, that ordinance number 2022-46 be adopted as presented. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Spielman.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2022-47, an ordinance establishing Chapter 1328, keeping, raising small livestock and bees regulations, codified ordinances of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio. First reading. Ordinance number
Wait,
two.
wait, wait,
Excuse me,
I'm
Mr.
sorry. I'm sorry. do you think this needs to be amended again before we pass it to include larger fowl? Like numbers of, so someone doesn't have 6 turkeys?
This,
Turkeys aren't permitted.
They're not permitted?
This is what the legal committee,
Okay.
decided. They just took direction from.
Right.
what they wanted.
I
I
mean,
mean, it could be amended.
I don't have it in front of me, so I don't remember.
Geese, turkeys, and roosters, not permitted.
Yeah. Would, Mr. Law Director, going a step further though, any animals that are currently here in the city, would they be grandfathered in once this passes?
Yeah, these would apply going forward once the ordinance is passed.
So no new animals then from that standpoint?
Correct.
So if you have one and somehow it goes away, you can't replace it, correct?
Correct.
Somehow it goes away.
I'm having veggie burgers tonight.
Good.
Proceed.
Scott, you can proceed.
Oh, okay.
Quickly.
Ordinance number 2022-48, an ordinance enacting a 2022 modified chapter 1116 of the codified ordinances of the city of Wickliffe entitled Erosion and Sediment Control. First reading. Ordinance number 2022-49, an ordinance enacting a 2022 modified chapter 1117 of the codified ordinances of the city of Wickliffe entitled Comprehensive Stormwater Management. Ordinance number 2022-50, an ordinance enacting a 2022 modified chapter 118 of the codified ordinances of the city of Wickliffe entitled Illicit Discharge and Illegal Connection Control. First reading. Ordinance number 2022-51, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio to enter into a lease agreement with Enterprise FM Trust for the lease of certain city vehicles for use by various departments of the city of Wickliffe and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Suspension made by Councilman Gehardstein, seconded by Councilman Thielman, to suspend the rules of Wickliffe City Council. And then ordinance number 2251 be placed on third and final reading. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Adoption made by Councilman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Bala, that ordinance number 2022-51 be adopted as presented. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-15, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Motion made to suspend by Councilman Gehardstein, seconded by Councilman Saloto, that the rules of Wickliffe City Council be suspended and resolution 2022-15 be placed on third and final reading. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Adoption made by Councilman Gehardstein, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto, that resolution 2022-15 be adopted as presented. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes.
Any other legislation? Miscellaneous? Motion for adoption, or should be motion for adjournment, beg your pardon.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Gehardstein, second by Councilwoman Kosky to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:10. Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes.
Thank you. We made it through.
How's,
That was